This video will be covering requirement 1 of the Electricity Merit Badge for Scouts BSA. For requirement 1, we're going to review the text from the official Electricity Merit Badge pamphlet. I've included a link to the pamphlet down below in the bottom of this YouTube video. So we're going to be covering A, B, and C as part of a video here that we're going to transition to, and then D and E will be after a subset of this video to where we'll go over what it says in the pamphlet. So we're going to do A, B, and C as a practical example with my friend Brownie here. Brownie, the stuffed animal, was in the garage working on an outlet. We heard something that didn't sound good, and so we're going to go check on Brownie in the garage.
So we've come outside, and Brownie looks hurt. The first thing we want to do if we suspect that he's actually been shocked is to have somebody else call 911. Zach, go call 911. That way we can help him immediately without having to take the time to call. We want to get Brownie away from that electricity as soon and as safely for us as possible. First thing we're going to do, if we know where it is in the house, is go to the breaker box. If you know which room it happens to be, great, you turn it off. In this case, I know it's garage GFI, so I turn it off. We see that the light here went off, so we know we got the right one. You might not know which room it is though. In that case, either there might be a main breaker switch on the top or bottom for the whole house. I don't have one here, so I would just turn off every one of these, off, 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 off. And that way we get the electricity to all the rooms off. If you don't know where the breaker box is, the next thing you should try is to try to get Brownie away from that electricity using something safe. Something like this is a broom handle. Anything that's not conductive is safe for you to use to either try to get the wire away if you can. It's kind of tricky, or you could scoop Brownie away from it if we needed to. You don't want to use something metal like this garden tool here because it's conductive. If you use that, you might get shocked as well. The last thing you could try is to try and get the electrical cord away from Brownie. So you want to make sure there's no water, anything conductive. Cover your hand with something non-conductive like a rag and pull that cord. Then you can know that Brownie at least should be away from the electricity. The next thing you want to do is not move him if possible, unless he's very uncomfortable or he asks to be moved. But if possible, leave him where he is. Make sure they're conscious. If they're conscious, great. If they're not conscious, you want to check for a pulse. You want to check for breathing. If there's no pulse, no breathing, that's when you want to do CPR like you learned in first aid. If they do need to be moved, you want to lay them down in a position such that they're comfortable and that they can be taken care of until emergency personnel arrive. If they have bad burns, you don't want to necessarily treat those immediately unless they ask for them to be treated, because they could be burned internally, and you want to let emergency personnel take care of that.
So that was requirement 1, A and B and C, a practical example of it. In order to fill out your merit badge listing of requirements of the text that you have to type up, I recommend that you use the pamphlet over here in addition to what was just reviewed in the video. At about page 53 in the pamphlet, and the next few pages give out the text for what you can use to help fill out the requirements for A and B and C. For D and E, we're going to review what they have in the pamphlet here. For D, which is what to do in an electrical storm. And so this is talking about if you are camping and you have a lot of lightning that starts happening, what to do. The key here is you want to stay low to the ground. And so you can see that they're kneeling, which might be appropriate if there's nowhere lower to go. But ideally, you want to find a ditch or some sort of depression, low side of the mountain. And that's because lightning strikes tall things first. The second thing you want to do is to try and stay away from each other if possible. You can see that they are social distancing from each other and the lightning, because if one person gets shocked, you don't want other people to get shocked. And then another practical thing you can do is to try to stay against rubber or some sort of non-conductive thing on the ground. So you can see here it says that they have their hiking boots on, which is rubber, which is good, because it means that if lightning were to strike you, it at least has less of a chance of easily getting to the ground than if it were, say, that you were standing on your bare feet, which I don't know why you would do in a storm anyway, but the idea is to have an insulator between you and the ground. So that's D. E is what to do in an electrical fire. We'll use the pamphlet for this as well. So with an electrical fire, I think it does a good job of just listing the main points here. One, never use water on a fire, and that's because water is a conductor. It has, slight chemicals in it of metals that are able to conduct electricity. If you throw water on that fire might just get bigger. It's kind of like a grease fire in that way. So you don't want to use water. Well, what do you use then? The ideal thing is a fire extinguisher. And so a fire extinguisher has chemicals in it that are meant to put out either electrical fires or grease fires or just say wood burning. So they're the best thing to use if possible. A very practical thing to do and a safe thing to do is after this video, make sure you know where all your fire extinguishers in the house are. We have one upstairs, one in the kitchen, one in the garage, and one in the laundry room. And then obviously if the fire is big enough, you want to call 911. And if appropriate, then turn off the main power to the house. So you remember in the video where we talked about the breakers, you want to go turn all of those off. And also on the side of the house, there's usually a big switch to turn off the electricity if that's appropriate to do. And that covers, I think, requirement 1, A, B, C, D, and E. And that's it.